So today's reading from A Gracious Space Fall is day 42, and the title is, I'm Grateful for My Homeschool. I love this long thread of gratitude. I'm thankful for it. And now I'm going to read to you all of the ways parents like you have found reasons to be grateful for their homeschools. Brownies? Getting ready for our first tea time in a while. We actually used to do it when the kids were littler. I just picked up Brave Writer last week and realized we never should have stopped. Thanks for resetting my expectations so I could relax and have fun again. So she's thankful for brownies. That's Katie Kearns. My husband, who supports me and has conversations with me and urges me to continue breathing. Julie Yen. Air conditioning, sorry, but it's true. Chloe Field. Books. I am a sucker for great children's literature. Tammy Wall. Freedom. Krista Bowman. Abundance. Rhonda Tinkman. The Awesome Kids. Erica Johns. Flexibility. Carmen Cox Ledford. Freedom to speak about God. Michelle Schwager Hanks. My husband. He has the kids at his parents' and did math with them this morning. Farrah Miles Williams. Vacation time. Debbie Callender. Endless possibilities. Courtney Dunlap. Understanding and applicability. Melissa Jackson. Flexibility. Micah Hayhurst Morris. Creativity flowing. Becky Rhodes Schick. Peace. Melissa Deanne Molstad. The flexibility. Tabitha Forrester McDaniel. The freedom to make the best choices for everyone. Sherry Wilbur Nixon. Flexibility. Do you see a pattern? Jacqueline Bay. Laughter. Michelle D. Gregory. Space for exploration and surprise. Stephanie Beck-Borden. The children. Amanda Volanek Anderson. Flexibility. It keeps showing up. Jody Bunton. Freedom. Lori Levitt Arcady. Whiskey. Corinne Matai. Sustaining thought. Freedom and flexibility win. So when I'm reading this list, what stands out to me isn't that we're thankful that we found the right program or that we managed to get kids into college. It's the sense that there are endless possibilities, that we have the freedom and privilege to homeschool, and that we are flexible in how we make that happen. There isn't just one system. There isn't a right way. In fact, somebody said in our staff meeting on Monday for Brave Writer, the only way to do Brave Writer wrong is to think there is only one way to do Brave Writer right. And I thought that was such a great statement, because the truth of the matter is we expect all of you, all of us, to go on our own learning adventures. Know what I'm saying? You are going to, again and again, examine what the circumstances are, take a good look at who your children are, and then you're going to make adjustments. You're going to tailor-make the education to the need of your child or the need of your family. And what's so amazing about that is that we can do that without a lot of anxiety or fear. It's not like someone is looking over your shoulder every day of your life. Now, when you first start, sometimes it feels that way. And in fact, when you first start, sometimes you're in a state where it seems to be that way. But the really true truth of homeschool is that every single year, you have the opportunity for reinvention. We talked about this a few days ago. And someone said to me, reinvention sounded like too big a word. So let's scale that down. You can tweak. If something isn't working today, you can tweak it so that it looks another way tomorrow. We started this list with brownies. That's because in Brave Writer, I often say, if all else fails, add brownies. If all else fails, add brownies. That is simply my reminder to you that the possibilities are endless, and that if you can sweeten the deal, you might have your kids buy in all over again. You might find a pathway to the thing you seek. Does that make sense? So that's my encouragement to you today. When you are hitting a wall, use that flexibility and the freedom you have to homeschool to find another way. One of the things I know about me is that a lot of times I feel pressure to have that solved before it even comes up as a problem. Do you know what I mean? Like you might be in the middle of working with a program or working with a curriculum and it's not going well, but you don't want to leave it because you haven't yet figured out what to put in its place. It's really hard to imagine new possibilities while you are entrenched in the routine of what you're doing that's painful and difficult. So I want to give you a little permission slip this morning to use the coming holidays for a reboot. If something isn't working, drop it. Go into holiday mode. Do the things that work, drop what isn't working, and allow your mind to go fallow so that when you go out to exercise or you're driving in the car or you're standing in the kitchen loading the dishwasher, your brain will be doing the secret work of rumination. When we ruminate, our brains start to collect data and resort it, recategorize it to give us new insight. But it's really, really hard to have that insight if we are so busy sustaining what doesn't work and putting all of our energy into fighting with our kids, fighting the program, fighting the system. So this is the perfect opportunity before January comes for you to take homeschooling's flexibility and use it for good. Drop what doesn't work and allow yourself to have some space to reimagine what that subject might be in your family, how that might work differently for that child. Give yourself permission to think. Take some time for some creative thinking. Go online, do a little research, talk with a friend, observe your child. Give yourself time, so that when you come back in January or whenever it is you return, you will have a new perspective to bring to the table. It might not even be completely solved by then, but you may have at least unraveled why it wasn't working and what about that wasn't right for your family, even if it was right for everybody else that you know who keeps telling you that you have to be this kind of family or you aren't really a good homeschooler. Make sense? Yeah, Jamie mentions cultivating the relationships. That is another thing to be thankful for in our homeschools. It would be great to see more of those in this thread, in fact. Feel free to put them underneath this video. Yeah, so when I think back to my homeschool, here are the things that, from this vantage point with 5 grown kids, that I'm grateful for. You ready? So first of all, I am so grateful that my kids were able to follow their passions. And even when those passions were things that made me nervous, I'm glad in hindsight that I had enough courage to let them follow them anyway. That I didn't put my agenda ahead of theirs for their own lives. I'm also grateful that I spent time with them, that I didn't travel to conventions and conferences even though my business was growing, that I showed up for their lacrosse games, for all of their theater performances, for soccer, for baseball, for ballet. I'm grateful that I was here and that I was able, because there was another income in our family, to be here with my kids. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for all the reading aloud we did. Every single day, I got in that rocking chair that's right there. It used to be in our other room. And I had a big basket of books sitting next to me. And we started our day together. We woke up, I listened to the radio or went online for about a half hour. They played, they ate breakfast. But then our gathering point was around reading. And in our family, that really worked. And my kids loved it. And we have great memories of the books we read and just what that time felt like. It was a centering point for us. I'm also grateful that I involved someone in my life who was passionate about math because I wasn't good at it. There were 2 different homeschool moms that I traded writing with for math. I helped their kids grow as writers, and they helped my kids grow in mathematics. And that was really valuable for us. I'm also so thankful that I stumbled on Charlotte Mason's philosophy early in my career. She not only changed my homeschool, she changed my adulthood. It was through Charlotte Mason that I discovered that my interests were an access point for my children's educational growth. It was because of her that I took up bird watching and went on nature hikes without guilt. It was because of Charlotte that I stumbled on Sister Wendy's Story of Painting and watched all those videos in front of my kids in the middle of the homeschool day and knew we were on task. And I wasn't even worried about whether they were getting anything out of it. I knew that if I enjoyed art, if I understood it, if I went to museums, if I built a library of art books, my kids would benefit. Today, as adults, they all go to art museums wherever they travel in the world, and they have their own favorite painters. And even the ones who thought they didn't love art have rediscovered it as adults. And the touchstone is that we did it when they were children. It becomes a source of nostalgia, not just education. I remember when Noah went to the Met in New York not that long ago, he started Snapchatting me pictures. Oh, excuse me, it wasn't the Met. It was the Getty in California, in Los Angeles. He started Snapchatting me pictures, and he would say, oh my gosh, I didn't realize there was this Van Gogh here at the Getty. And then he would remind me, I would remember those trips to the Cincinnati Museum. And I didn't even think I liked art as an adult, and here I am loving it. Because you know why? Art museum trips in our family were inseparable from the experience of being loved. It's the same experience. Because when I was around art, I was a really good mom. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I would go to a museum and I was happy. I felt nurtured. I felt connected to the story of my whole existence and what it meant to live on this planet. I felt like I was being a gift of transcendence, and that bird's eye view of how many people came before me and the contributions they made so that I could live in this moment with everything that I had available to me. And so when I was a better mom, my kids had a better experience of their childhoods. And that experience is what created the foundation for nostalgia around art. That's the kind of thing that could happen for you. And you're creating that right now. So yeah, Charlotte Mason swung open a door so wide, I've never looked back. It's when I became fascinated with Jane Austen. I started listening to audiobooks every night, and I parked my kids in front of Arthur, in front of Wishbone, in front of Liberty's Kids, the PBS shows, so that I could listen a little longer. And guess what? Because I was listening and wanted to listen longer, I made better dinners. I needed to make dinners that took some time so I could have this hour that was for me. There was no more slapdash dinners in my house while I was into Jane Austen. I wanted to hear those books. I wanted my kids to watch television, and I wanted time. So we ate really well during those years. See what I'm saying? When I was a better mother, I was a better homeschooler. When I was a more fulfilled adult, I was a better human being for everyone in my life. So Charlotte opened that door for me, but I ran through it with absolute commitment. I even went as far as going to grad school and running my business. I mean, for me, I just saw how my growth and development as an adult was inextricably tied to my children's growth and development as human beings. As you are looking then at this moment, what you're grateful for, what you wish you were doing differently, pause. Take care of you. I know it's a cliche, put on your oxygen mask first before you put it on the person next to you. Sometimes that is so true that we roll our eyes, yeah, and we think about it as a point of survival, right? Because by the time you're putting on the oxygen masks, you're gasping for air. Your plane is about to go down. How about we not wait for the plane to go down? How about we not wait for the oxygen mask to fall from the ceiling before we start taking care of ourselves? What if we made sure that we were okay so that we could operate not from a sense of desperation and fear, but from a place of self-confidence because we know we've developed the resources in us? We talk a lot in Brave Writer about the relationship being the key to homeschooling, and it really is. It starts with the relationship with yourself. I'm going to tell you a little honest story this morning. My life is very busy right now. You would think now that my kids are grown and they're living out of the house, that everything would be organized and neat around me. And it's not. I'm in a major project that is taking me over a year, which is to reconceive of my house and store all of my kids' stuff in the basement. And it's taking time. Some days it's very frustrating. And in the midst of that, Brave Writer is going gangbusters. The volume of people we help every day now has tripled this year. We are out of control. I've got a fabulous team doing as much work as they possibly can, and we're just barely keeping up. In fact, we're hiring right now. If you didn't know that, go to the blog. We have a call for writing teachers out right now. So if you want to work for Brave Writer, we would love it. Go sign up, send us your resume. So all of this is going on right now. So here's what's happening. Things are falling through the cracks in my life. I'm forgetting to add an appointment, or I add the appointment and forget to save, and then I miss the appointment. That happened to me this morning. I missed a deadline to give a review to somebody that I promised a review to, and the deadline is passed. So I had to just write an email and say, this is what I would have said. These are not my best versions of me. It took me 2.5 weeks to catch up with all the email that came in while I was in England and France. That's not my usual style. So I woke up this morning with some shame because I wasn't living up to my own standards of what it means to be Julie in the world, which is attentive, on time, generous, open-hearted, committed, make sure everybody has what they need before I have what I need. Because that's my natural way of being in the world. That's the way I have fantasized that I am in the world anyway. That's the image of me I believe I want to put out in the world. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to be generous, responsive, on time, on top of my schedule, neat and organized. Those are all great goals for me as a human being. But I'm a human being. And I woke up this morning and do you get it? It's that sting of shame that you didn't live up to your best ideal self. And it's maybe not even your own fault, beyond the fact that you're overwhelmed with how much responsibility you have. Do you hear how similar this is to homeschooling? Those of you who imagine it'll be gone because your kids are out of the house, it's not true. These are habits. These are long-standing habits of human behavior that live in you. The perfectionism, the need to do it well, to live up to your own fantasy of who you think you are. We all have that feet of clay thing going on. And I'm no different than you. And I hit the moment where my shame kicks in because I didn't live up to my best version of myself. So this morning, you know what I'm grateful for? The opportunity to be human, to recognize my limits, to trust that the people I'm in relationship with know I have limits. Wouldn't that be something? And what a gift to them. Because if I have limits, maybe then you feel okay about having limits. And if you have limits, then maybe I feel okay about having limits. And in the midst of all that, I can go listen to a book on tape. I can put stuff in one more box. I can apologize. I can hit the pause button over the holidays and ruminate on how to just tweak that piece that's not working. because everyday life comes into your life, right? I always like to say life is relentless. It's relentless. There is no pause unless you hit the pause button. This is what my team keeps telling me. This is what I have to tell myself. This is what I tell my children. We have to hit the pause button. We have to give ourselves permission to be flexible. We are free to be flexible. Whew, that might need to be a meme. We are free to be flexible. That is one of the gifts of homeschool. It's one of the gifts of being an entrepreneur. It's one of the gifts you can give yourself for your own humanity. Somebody is mentioning the notion that they could have winter break come earlier than planned. Well, why not? December is one of those months where baking cookies should be on task, where making gingerbread houses should be on task, where wrapping gifts and creating little gift tags can be on task. I remember with my kids, we actually used gift tag making one year, sort of like copy work. And every year that Katrin was young, she would do different lettering to make the place cards for Thanksgiving and for Christmas dinners. In fact, it was through making place cards with the Greek alphabet that she finally caught on to sounding out, which led to her breakthrough in reading. Had nothing to do with programs. It had nothing to do with it. I was in school studying Greek, and she became fascinated with the alphabet. And together we decided, well, let's make the place cards for Thanksgiving with the Greek alphabet. Only I am not fluent in Greek. So I had to sound out the alphabet to figure out how to spell our names. And as she saw me doing that, it clicked in her own brain, the missing piece I had never really shown her, that adults legitimately have to sound out sometimes. She had never believed it before because she had never seen it. And once she caught on to that, she locked herself in her bedroom, got out her People magazine article about Nick Lachey and Jessica Simpson, and forced herself to work through that article sounding out. That's when the breakthrough came. Isn't that funny? All because I decided to go to grad school, to study a foreign language, to do my copy work in that language during copy work time with the kids. Isn't that amazing? Could I ever tell any of you to follow that path so that your children who aren't reading will now read? Is that duplicable in anyone else's life? No. But that's what homeschooling is. It isn't finding the right curriculum. It's staying alert to the possibilities. It's staying connected to your children. It's giving yourself permission to be flexible. Those are the things that make your education system unique. And I'm so excited to hear what you're doing, to hear the ways that your flexibility have enriched and enhanced your home education journey. And then someday when they're big and they're living all over the world, not even in your house anymore, they're going to look forward to coming home at Thanksgiving. My kids cannot wait to get home. They're bringing boyfriends and girlfriends, and they're so excited to play games with Noah and to sing Hamilton songs and to bake our special apple pie where we cut out the leaves with our own leaf cutter. The pastry on top always looks like leaves, and it has to, or we don't get to make those pies, right? Like, you know how you have those things? They will come home. And things you only did once, to them, they'll think you did them every year. It's one of the fun parts of the other end, is that one great experience in a child's life magnifies to an annual event, and then they tell stories about it for the rest of their lives. This is what you have to look forward to, but you're building those memories right now. 1 time is good enough. 2 times is great. 3 times can be better. And 4 times might not be necessary. Right? Give yourself permission. Use this upcoming season to let something go that's not working. And then ruminate, incubate, live with that discomfort. Allow yourself to go fallow. And then in January, we'll re-up and something new will come. How about that? Yeah, my goal, Morgan, was the same thing, to have my kids to love coming home for the holidays. That has been my chief ambition for my whole life. And you know what they do? And I hear that from so many sources in my age group. We've been through bumps. We've watched really shipwrecked relationships get restored in adulthood, because there is something about that fundamental bond early in life because of homeschooling that you can repair the places where you overstepped in your authority, where you bullied your kids or you really showed profound disappointment in a choice they made. That's going to happen. This happens. Parents do it. They make mistakes. They're human beings. They're in their own growth pattern. Adults are not error-free, and all of the information they have is incomplete. So they're going to overstep. You're going to overstep. You're going to alienate one of your kids. Conversely, your beautiful children will alienate you. That will happen. And it's only because everybody wants the best for each other. So at some point, you get to stitch it back together. And sometimes holidays are the time to do it. And I highly recommend, if you and your kids are at odds coming into this current holiday, that you start remembering. Go back to nostalgia. If you've got kids who are already grown coming back and there's some tension there, look for the nostalgia that you can share together. Maybe pull out some photos and put them in an album. Actually print them and put them places to look at. Maybe they could be under a clear tablecloth cover on the table to remind your family of what it means to be who you are. Be creative. Let me know what you come up with. Paula says, thinking about it, it's so easy to add a little effort and create magical childhoods. Absolutely. And that's what I hope you're doing. It's what I tried to do. Didn't happen every day, but there was enough pixie dust in our family that they have a lot of good feelings about their childhoods. And that's what I hope happens for you. And that's including the shipwreck of my life. We did have a divorce in our family, and they still come home. And my ex-husband still comes home. We do Thanksgiving together. There's still hope. Don't give up hope, okay? I love you guys. Thanks for hearing me this morning when I felt the sting of shame that I didn't live up to my own expectations of myself in the last week. It's so hard to not live up to your own expectations of yourself, isn't it? So remind me that I'm going to be okay, and I promise to remind you the same. All right? I'm going to go. I'm going to let you get on with your days. It's gorgeous here. Go look at the moon tonight if you missed it last night. Give your kids a big hug. And look forward to the coming weeks where you get to let go of something that doesn't work and create new space for something you can't even conceive of yet to take its place. I think that's a wonderful goal for the next 6 weeks. See you tomorrow.